right. Good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this. That's so good to be here with you. So, I can see some people watching already. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, please, whatever you're watching, you might be watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn or maybe Facebook or Twitch. I don't know, right? You might be anywhere you are. So how about you tell me on the chat, either the chat below or the chat somewhere here on the sides, right? Wherever you're watching this, that's the chat's gonna be there somewhere. It could be just a comment on the video. So just say hello. Tell us where you're watching this from, so we can get started, right? So it's so good to be here with you. We're running this awesome project, the Out of the Box Developer, right? So we're gonna do so today we're gonna do one more session with the Out of the Box Developer, right? And just say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're from, right? What's going on in your career. So today we're going to talk about skills, right? Developer skills and artificial intelligence skills. We're going to help you improve your career. We're going to help you move forward, right? And for that, let me bring my two guests here. He is my co-host on this project here. He's the guy that came up with the idea of us doing this bi-monthly meetup, and he's a Java champion, the leader of the London Java community, and a specialist in artificial intelligence. With you, Mani Sarkar. Hey, Mani, how are you doing, man?
Hello, Bruno. I'm doing well. Great to see you again, and happy to be on this third session of ours. Since early this year, actually February, we managed to do three sessions already. So that's a great thing. So yeah, I'm very excited and happy to be here. I believe you've just dropped out for a second, Bruno, but I think you'll be back in. So I'll wait for you. But in the meanwhile, I encourage the audience to step in, to come forward and ask your questions. Introduce yourself, ask us questions about ourselves, about our career, or what we're going to be talking. So yeah, we
All
saw
right,
you
I'm
dropped out
back.
a little bit. Yeah, you're back as usual.
Yeah,
That
something
was very
happened.
quick.
But yes, it's good. So thanks, Manny. It's so good to have to be here. And for people that are watching this, really, I actually wrote an email saying this the other day, and when you get to you're talking to a friend, right? Your friend say, "Hey, let's do something together," right? Or "Hey, let's work on a project together," something like this, right? And that's exactly what happened. So we were talking, me and Manny, the other day. So hey, we could do a project together, right? And then usually that's where the conversation dies, right? That's where the conversation doesn't continue because no one does anything, right? And then nothing happens. But Money said, okay, that's good, man. So he sent me a list of ideas, and then he sent me a spreadsheet with lots of companies that we could discuss. And then he really said, look, let's do something together, right? It was not just for saying, right?
Yeah,
It was actually for
let's walk.
real.
Let's walk the talk,
Yes,
right?
let's walk the talk.
You're
Exactly. That's
talking the
perfect.
talk. Now let's walk the talk.
Exactly. Right. So thanks, Money. Thanks for doing this. And now the best thing of all is that when you're doing this and it's so great, it's so fun, and then you get good friends of yours to say, hey, I can help you out too. If you guys need some help, I'm here available, right? So and I've got a good friend like this, and he isn't a specialist on architecture, right? He's the guy that helps me out with the life's purpose workshop, right? So let's bring here our guest, Hugo Sakamoto. Hey, Hugo, how are you doing,
Hey,
man?
Hugo.
Hey Bruno, hey Manny, thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'm happy to be here to contribute whatever I can. So yeah, let's start these discussions.
Yes, in Hugo is pretty much like Money. He said, hey, I'm available to help. So what can I do? Let me show up. I'm here. Hey guys, don't forget me, right? and so and so very, 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 very fast, Hugo took over the whole thing, and he's now like the responsible. So in a in a couple of weeks, Hugo's gonna be here and say, hey, Bruno, where are you? Come on, man.
In a couple of weeks, Hugo's going to be introducing, and the person who started the stream. He's the one I'm going to introduce you. He's the one who's going to be our guest.
Exactly. Exactly.
We
So
have a
thanks,
very
Hugo.
good guest. He's ex starter of this stream. No, not ex. He's current starter of the stream.
Yes, that's awesome. So I
Great.
just see here Marcos Pereira saying hello. Hey
Hello,
Marcos, how you
Marcus.
doing, man? Good to have you here. So if you're watching us, just just do a quick hello, and feel free, Marcos, to ask questions, to make comments. We're gonna be discussing here a little bit about skills, right? So let's just kind of pick up where we left last time, right? So last time we are discussing about artificial intelligence, and we're discussing about the ways artificial intelligence can be used by developers. And then I think the one thing that we left out from our last conversation was exactly in terms of skills, right? We didn't talk too much about what skills developers need to have to talk about artificial intelligence. So do you want to start a little bit of that, Money, and discuss a little bit about skills that developers should have,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how?
certainly. I mean, it's really you read our minds, Bruno. I really am amazed all the time. You just said earlier, I'm going to leave this to you guys to run it, but you actually just hit it exactly the way it should be. Because I was thinking of this, we went every session we want to do a little bit of a summary of the previous session, so there's a continuity. But also we cover so much, we cannot cover a lot, right?
Right. Yes.
We got to skip out some bits. So I shared the link to a place where I'm recording all the sessions we were doing as best as I can. And I think it'll be great to share this with the audience so they can get the slides to the previous session, and
Okay.
also the videos to it. And talking about where we left from, I think that's a great starting point, because what we can do is I can show the walk through the summary of what we spoke last time, and just walk through those points and point out what developer skills we need. But also the summary will tell everything, right? Everything that
Right.
we kind of finished off last time. So
Yeah.
you
So
know
so
that
while you're looking there, just put the link that Money's talking about in the chat, right? So you guys want to follow that up and see his GitHub account, right? And I say, so Ivan is saying, hello, gentlemen. Very interesting to see you
Hello.
talk. So thanks, Ivan. So good to be here with you. Thanks a lot, Ivan. All right. So let me put Manny's presentation here, right? Okay, good.
Okay, so I'm on the slide that I want to talk about, where we left off the last time. I mean, I didn't go literally through every slide, because it was for you to go over it in the background after the session. But if you look at the summary of what each of these terminologies mean, we talk about AI, ML, DL, RL. I mean, we keep saying AI, and we mean everything else comes underneath it, right? But it also is. It's also, if you look at the terms, they've historically evolved in the 1970s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way to even early 90s. We were only saying AI, and then eventually ML came about, and then very quickly DL came about, and then even quickly RL came about. But they are all subsets of the same group. So what skills do we need as developers? You got to think how these terminologies and these concepts evolved, right? AI previously or initially, and I haven't been in the early days. For me, it's only been since recent 90s, and even not in 90s, recent 2000, that I've been looking into it. But from what I've seen in the books and the code, it was all embedded in one place. So you had lots of if and then programs that would look like artificial intelligence embedded in your program. So while you're writing code, in your code, you're smartly handling all these situations that has to do with making your program smart. Now I can actually show a very quick example, and it's actually something we will cover a little later. Both Hugo and I are going to cover. This is the Chatbots program, and we have a program called, well, a model called Eliza. And if you look into the code of Eliza, this is what in the early 1980s and 1990s that people would write, is things like this. Let me take you to the right place in the code where the actual analysis is happening, which is over here. Okay, that was a lot of scrolling, but actually we are looking for programs that actually would take pieces of text and then analyze that and pass that to other if and then blocks of code, which you can see over here, which would then select the answers based on that. So there was a lot of nested if and then. So what I would do is I would copy and paste this link, and actually, instead of going through it, let you go through it, and then you can see what that initial evolution of writing AI code was. But soon we became smarter, right? Soon we programmers, we split ourselves into two different professions: data scientists and machine learning engineers, which were also shared by developers, where we would there would be two different people writing code, and basically one set of developers would gather uh, the data and create the model, and the other set of developers would actually take those models and take and make them further functional. um, Basically, this is where the ML evolution started. So what skills do we need as a developer? Well, as a developer, you need skills to be able to now think not the traditional programs that we write, but think about programs that actually build other programs that are have intelligence built into them. And where does this intelligence come from? It comes from basically gathering data and then creating a model out of it. So, and a model is nothing but data and program or code embedded in it. So this is where your developer skills become more and more sophisticated, right? It's not like the old traditional programs where a program is just talking to another program and that's what it's doing. But here, programs are actually making use of other programs or creating other programs that are intelligent on its own. And as you go through the different terminologies like deep learning, where things become even more sophisticated, where the previous level of programmers that did machine learning, and actually the deep learning developers are actually automating and making their programs even smarter, so that the things that were manually done in the previous generation of programmers are now automatically done. And then if you go and see how the reinforcement learning programs are, where actually you're building the program on the fly. So that requires a little bit more mind-bending thinking, and also a lot more cohesive way of working as well. It's
Right.
no longer thinking only in terms of your code, but thinking of code that works independently and actually can communicate back with your model. So uh, I mean, uh, developer
Well,
skills are now, it's not just going to be limited to writing code, but it's also going to be gathering data and making code out of that data, and then writing another program that actually reads that and makes use of that data, which is the model.
right. So, Money, this is a little bit like, I mean, I understand it's completely different, the process, right? But can we understand this a little bit like the abstractions that we use so much in development, right? Because as developers, we leave abstraction inside abstraction inside abstractions, right? We have we have the OS that abstracts the whole hardware, and then you have the Java virtual machine that abstracts the whole OS, and then you have the library that abstracts the virtual machine. So it's more like this, right? So
Yeah,
we're just in a level of abstraction that we write the program, and then the levels below we actually create the programs that are actually going to run the level below, right? So is that more
yeah,
more
yeah.
like
So
this, right?
you're spot on. See, again, Bruno is a genius in coming up with the right conversation, the right questions, right? I always say this. And so this is exactly how it is. The only difference is here, I mean, there are a couple of differences. Is one is that your abstraction is changing. The underlying, what you're abstracting underlying is changing in some senses. Like you see,
Mm-hmm.
when you're abstracting an operating system, it's not changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless somebody is updating the operating system in the background. But then the abstraction also needs to be in link with it, because then the chain will be broken. But in here, the data is changing. The hardware is not changing. Your operating system is not changing. So everything that's abstracting, and if it changes, then the link breaks, and then of course you'll have all the null pointer exception and segment fault and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
here the data is changing and it's allowed to change, whereas in the case of the hardware and operating system, it's not allowed to change. If it
Mhm.
changes, you need to restart your application, right? Whereas here, the data is changing and you need to make your application such that when the data changes, you adapt,
Okay.
right? That's where the reinforcement learning is a lot more dynamic, because as the new data comes in, it learns, it adapts, and it's changing. Whereas if you see machine learning and deep learning, even deep learning is semi-automatic, but machine learning is less automatic, because you need to rebuild the model every time the data changes. Manually
Okay.
rebuild the model. Of course, there are automatic processes you can do, but you have to rerun that process, right?
Mhm.
Whereas with reinforcement learning, there is no rebuilding happening, because everything is built on the fly. Every time data comes in, it adapts. The programs are written such that it knows how to write programs based on the new data that comes in. So you see, the whole thinking that we have has to change, right? We
Right.
used to have a situation where the operating system will be given to you, or the hardware will be given to you. Now write the software, right? And the hardware is not going to change. The operating system not going to change till a new version of the operating system or new version of the hardware comes in, right? So you have all the freedom to write static program that works for that hardware or that software or that operating system, or those classes of hardware and classes of operating system. But now, with the way the world is operating, it's very dynamic. That none of that is static. Everything is changing under the fly, behind the scene. So your programs need to be nimble, smart, and adaptable on the fly, right? And that's where we are going with the reinforcement learning. That's your next level. Then it surpassed AI like long time ago. And there's also something called deep reinforcement learning, which I haven't covered in these slides here. I have to understand what it is, but the basic idea of reinforcement learning applies there as well. So that's thinking about that whole. The skills are actually there. Developers have the skills.
Mhm.
What needs to change is the thinking paradigm, right? We need to be able to understand that data is going to change. That means the underlying operating system and hardware is constantly going to change. How can I write my software that links with the underlying hardware and software without breaking the chain and without getting segment faults and all those things, right? So
Okay.
that's the next level of thinking that is required. The skills are there. All the
Yes,
tools
it
we
is.
need, because see, all those people who have written ML, DL, and RL programs, they're using old existing stuff, right? They're using the current tools and yesterday's tools to write tomorrow's tools, right? So
Mhm.
we are doing some sort of bootstrapping here, but the thinking is different here, if you see. So
Okay.
that's where I would focus on, and I haven't gotten there yet, but that's where I also want to be, to understand how to do this.
All right. Okay. Cool. So let's figure out together here how we're gonna do this. I just want
Yeah,
to say a quick
absolutely.
hello here to Oliver. Right. So Oliver's saying hi. Interesting talk. So hey, Oliver. Oliver's a
Hey,
friend of
Oliver.
ours from Guatemala. Right. So
Oh,
Guatemala is
God.
being represented here. So that's awesome, Oliver. Good to have you here.
Great. Um,
Great. Yeah, yeah.
well,
So I
Mani,
hope that answered your question, and Hugo, you might want to add something to it as well from your perspective, because
oh
obviously you're seeing a lot of things that is also common to you and known to you.
yeah, I think there's someone in the audience might be asking about, might have this question if uh, when you go through all those layers of AI, how deep you need to know to just getting started, or how do you get, because it seems to be a lot of knowledge that you need to have and it's not a simple content, it's quite an advanced content. So how do people how people can, how a developer can start learning those things, and yeah, actually to get into this field.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. I think Bruno had the same question at the end of last time's session, and then we had to stop. But this is going to be a repeated question. And the answer I would give, because I'm always refining this answer as well, is always start from the application. Always start from what you want to achieve, right? And so there's one thing. The other thing is always look from what has already been done at the highest application level, right? So, for example, if a company or says we have a product or we have a service that has artificial intelligence built into it, then go and play with the product and see, okay, they're saying artificial intelligence. Let me play with it right, left, center. Which parts of it is artificial intelligence? Which part of it is not? And what do you mean by artificial intelligence? Okay, if I type my name and my address and say some story or start interacting with your application, it starts to get to know me. Okay, then how is that working? So, I mean, sometimes a company will not tell you the details, right? Because it's trade secret. But to be honest, there's no trade secret. If you talk to someone who's already doing this, they'll tell you what they're doing, more or less, right? It doesn't have to be exact. But the point here is when you start those kinds of inquiries, you start from top down. That's the best way of learning, in my view, in my experience. Right? You start top down, because what everybody's doing in this, and it's an overstatement here, but what almost everywhere you see is they're trying to teach you matrix multiplication, they're trying to teach you gradient descent and all the difficult mathematics things, and those things are necessary and important and happening. But when you start the journey, you don't need to start it there,
Mhm.
right? I mean, people can start it there. I'm not going to stop anybody from learning from any angle, but you want to learn from top down. You want to learn, here's the application, this is how it's used, how is ELIZA working? For example, if you type in a text, what is ELIZA doing? Actually, it's going through a nested if and else statement, and it's checking, okay, he texted this, he randomly gives an answer, that's taking that answer and building another answer. All that it's doing, right? But there are smarter things, like there's another model that I have, where you give in the question, and actually it searches for the answer in a Wikipedia model, and then it gives you the answer from there. So now, how is that model built? So inquire, 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 and then, okay, how's that model built? Let me search for Java code, GitHub model, and then you see somebody's code, try to run it. Yeah, try to build that model yourself. You'll get stuck. Whatever I'm telling you is not going to be success in the first week. It's going to be painful, but it's the best way to learn, because you're starting from application to how the application is built, to how, and you're mapping the features with what you need to know, as opposed to all the matrix multiplication, which can come much much later, right? But initially, you need to know how the user's input is interacting with the core of the software, which is supposed to be artificially intelligent, right? Once you know where the core of the software is, just like our chatbot application. If somebody has to learn how to do machine learning, AI, NLP, best place to start, because many examples are already in there. First, you run the application, you play around with it, and say, oh, how is it doing that? Okay, there's a model here. Okay, how is the model built? Okay, let's me look at the GitHub repository of the model. Oh, the model is built like this, right? Now you need to know how to build the model. Okay, the model is built because they took a whole corpus of text data, they ran a program across the text data, and they created something that is a model, which is a combination of code and data, right? Now, when you know how to do that, you're already ahead in the game, because somebody else doesn't know how to do that. They're still stuck with the matrix multiplication. It's the same example Bruno gives. When somebody wants to solve a problem, they don't want a nail and hammer specialist. They
Right.
want someone who can solve the problem to them.
Right.
People here are learning how to become a nail and hammer specialist before they become an AI specialist.
Right.
I'll tell you, I went through that journey as well, and I stopped and I started climbing up, because I know about the top down approach, and I started going application, to how the application is built, to how I achieve those smaller granular parts only for that application. So you'll only learn a few things in there, but it's just enough. And then you take another application which does something else. You do the same story, and then eventually you see you form a you if you go into the horizontal and vertical matrix of what you need to know, you'll cover a lot more parts at the high level, and then slowly, 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 when you need to go deeper, you can go deeper. So then you will not feel, oh, there's so much to know, oh, there's so vast, it's so complicated, oh, as a developer, how do I do that? Oh, I have to do Python, oh, I cannot do Python. You can do all of that in Java. Trust me, I've been trying to do that for the last year and a half. Many of those things can be done in Java, not with the same sophistication yet, but still many things can be done in Java. But learn through the way the industry does it, and then rewrite it in Java. Once you know how to do in Python, you can rewrite it in Java. You're a Java developer, right? Not just you, but the rest of us who are listening to us. Many of them are Java developers. So if you know how to do it in Python, you can do it in Java in your sleep. This is what I will say. But learn top down. Learn from, take the application. What are the features in the application? Which features are artificial intelligent? How is that feature artificial intelligent? How do I build that model that's artificial intelligent? Finish. You're done.
Okay.
You know all you need to know. And then you can, if you build that in your own personal application that is not artificial intelligent yet, you have an artificial intelligent application. And then you can call yourself an expert, like Bruno keeps calling me, which I'm not, but he likes to call me, and I'm happy with the compliment. So that's my long answer to that important question. And I hope that just does justice to the question.
And actually, I think that's very interesting what you just said, and because Hugo, what Manny just described it, right? I would say that's exactly the same process that you have to use to understand an architecture, right? You have
Perfect.
to understand from the high level,
Exactly.
and then if you start to understand an architecture from the little details, it takes too long for you to really
You'll take
understand
20
what's going
years to
on. But
become
if
an
you go
architect.
from top down, isn't it, Hugo? Isn't it the same thing that you have to do?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing, Bruno, because yeah, I think the way our brain can understand better things, if you can have
Yeah.
this overview without much details, and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper, I think it's the best way to get into the solution that you need. And another interesting thing that I can see is all the needs of of AI solutions for data. So data is changing every time. A lot of data is needed. So I think there's a lot related with architecture issues, architecture problems to make all of this available and also scalable, because it's nowadays a lot, and as many data you have, it's better. Uh, Not always, of course, but it's better to make the models for AI problems. So yeah,
Right.
there's many things relate to here that I can relate here with architecture.
Yeah, data is getting more complicated. All right, so
Yeah.
Mauricio says, "Hi there, good evening. Interesting subject." Okay, guys, so for you, Mauricio, and everyone else, let me tell you this: the whole point here for us is to have a conversation with you, right? So, take this moment, ask questions, tell us where you want us to go with this whole thing here. Direct the conversation, right? It's not we are not the one directing the conversation here. You are, right? So tell us what you want to know. So you can go into chat and tell us where you're from, and then help us out uh, by telling us what situation you're going through. Are you trying artificial intelligence right now? Would you like to try it? Have is your company seeing the value of it somehow, right? Do you see a possibility for you to get involved with something? Tell us something, and so we can help you out, right? So but thanks Mauricio to being here with us. Awesome.
So, Bruno, we have this question, we've had this question repeatedly. Is AI going to replace human developers? Right? Now,
Right.
this slide, if you look here in the slide, there are about 4 points. Three of the 4 points talk about human beings involved, partially or fully. In fact, I'll say even the fourth one has near partial human involvement, because if someone doesn't write the reinforcement learning base programs, it's
Mhm.
not going to write on its own, right? After that, you need to be able to manage that program, right?
Right.
And after that, you need to do lots of other things. So I think there is some that question is long answered now, isn't it? I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I agree. Yeah. So no. So basically, what you're saying is that there's always going to be humans involved in artificial intelligence, right?
I mean, there'll be less and less, because the amount of things we will automate will be surpassing far the number of human beings will be doing. But human beings are not going to be idle; they'll be having even more to do. But the amount of automation is going to go x-fold up,
Right.
right? So, if humans say, suppose humans work in the world 1 million hours or 1 billion hours a year, we will be doing 3 billion or 10 billion of automation, and of which there'll be 1 billion or 7 billion hours used by human beings, right? But there'll be 21 or 30 billion hours automated. So in addition to the 20 billion automation management will still be done by the 7 billion human hours, right? If we can
Right.
quantify it in that form. So that's where I'm thinking things are going to be going. So we
Money.
will still be needed.
Yeah, money. Let me tell you this, man. I think that I'm very very happy that the computers are going to do all those calculations and all those repetitive tasks and all those trying to find some information in the middle of the data. I'm all happy that the computers do that, right? So it's going to free us to do more interesting things, right? You know,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
if I
Make us do things we are more capable of doing, right? Because
right,
we are creative beings. Software engineering is a creative process. It's like music, it's like art, right? We make things from abstract, right?
right,
We create things from abstract things. We're creative engineers. And so the computer can take away all the discrete, redundant, mundane, repetitive tasks that we are not good at because we make mistakes. And that's not even our core competency, but we can apply our core competencies and make use of that. Creative Our creative abilities can now start showing up even more and more. And we'll not be making those mistakes. And the number of bugs hopefully will reduce far more, because now the computer can find all those edge cases and all the corner cases where those bugs are that we've been creating.
Right. Okay. Awesome, man. Okay, so I think we beat that horse dead, right? So that human beings going to be involved in artificial
Very,
intelligence, right?
very well said. Yeah. We need to record this section of our video, and every time that question comes up, we need to play this video instead of giving that same answer over and over again. I mean, we had already answered this to them that human beings are not going to be taking away off the job, but now we have a slide and we have a verbal discussion explaining how we will not be taken off of that job.
Right, right. Okay, so so what else can we talk about in terms of skills for artificial intelligence, right? So, um, what's your or should you? Oh, okay. So Oliver's saying, I like the concept that our code is art and that computers do things we're bad at. Okay, good, Oliver.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's exactly the point as well. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's great, Oliver. Yes. And basically, so that's one thing. Money, and Hugo. What do you guys think? I know I keep telling everyone that software development is more art than engineering, right? So for me, the way I see that is that if you are like an architect of a building, right? I'm from Brasilia, right, where we have those great, amazing buildings, very beautiful, and they look like they're just kind of they look like they're so light, but in reality they're so heavy, right? Because they're all like steel and concrete, right? And so, so for you as an architect, right, of buildings, for example, for you to build a building, a beautiful building, it has to have art, and you need to understand engineering to actually make that, right? For you to be a painter, right, or a dancer, you have to understand, colors and lights and the physics of the human body, right, and gravity, right? You have to have an understanding of the engineering behind it. But in reality, what you're doing is art. So that's what I see, right? I see that software development is you have to understand the engineering, you have to understand the technical part, right? But I think it's a way more creative. So that's my idea, right? So I think that's what Oliver's talking about, and that's what I think, Oliver. That's, yes, we're more artists than engineers, although we like to call ourselves engineers, right?
Ivan has a good question there about if AI has taken off
Okay,
now.
so yeah, so
Because,
Ivan says, do you agree that what we have just today in AI is only happening because of the hardware evolution, right? I mean, 10 years ago, many algorithms were simply unfeasible to run, right? Not about only AI, but about everything. Look at your job, right? Do you think that big data was going to be possible without 64-bit processor, right? I believe it couldn't be possible. So I'll let you guys answer that, and then I'll give my take. So.
yeah, you go for this first, so that you can give your technical architect angle point of views as well.
Sure. Well, of course, I think this hardware revolution have made things possible and feasible, because there are many requirements to run all of those models, and yeah, the question is, the answer is yes. I believe that also it was because of the hardware revolution. There's and in the future we are expecting that more and more possibilities will open, and possibilities that we don't even imagine right now, that we because we are now in a reality that in the past 10 years we didn't imagine it, that we will be playing with uh, all those computational power with cloud services, and all of these available for us in quite cheap budget. So yeah, I think, and a more interesting thing that I can see here nowadays is how those cloud providers are giving us this uh, AI models to modeling their platform in a so easy way that you can give more people access to those
Mhm.
models and try things more. There are more minds now thinking about solutions, different kind of solutions using AI, and we are
Mhm.
getting more like many just said. We are getting more concentrated on creative things. So we are giving access to more people, so more people are more creative things that they can create, and then we might we end up with more different solutions and unexpected ways. Yeah, so that's thing that I think I see now.
That's cool.
Yeah,
So,
I think
Hugo.
very well said, because of that thing what you just said, there are actually, on the high level abstraction, I was noticing three things that you were already saying. Is one thing that happened that brought about the other thing that brought about the other thing. The first thing that happened is us connecting together with the internet and collaborating via the internet. You see, we were collaborating through bulletin boards as well, but it was not as effective. We were collaborating through letters and emails as well, but it was not as effective. But through internet connectivity and GitHub and things like that, the code collaboration, and then came about in parallel, I think, open sourcing.
Mhm.
These two things really triggered. So it was the hardware evolution that started. But imagine we had all the hardware evolution, but we are disconnected, not collaborating, and no open source. Imagine what would happen.
Right.
There would be no cloud
Yeah,
service providers
good
giving us
point.
models to work on, right? So
Right.
you spotted the right things, but and they are part of these slightly higher hierarchy, that is open sourcing, online collaboration, which is code collaboration, and that is all about brought about by internet connectivity. And the cloud service providing is happening because of the internet connectivity. If we didn't have internet connectivity like the way we have now, not email connectivity, not bulletin board services connectivity, or radio, ham radio connectivity, this is the next level up, the online code connectivity, not just chat connectivity or YouTubing connectivity. It's like online coding connectivity platforms like GitHub and the likes, and
Mhm.
Bitbucket. And when those came about, all of these exponentially came about, because then people also were collaborating and sharing their code, which became open sourcing, and then cloud service providers and everything, built up on top of it. So this is all actually adding to the hardware evolution, because just hardware evolution or software evolution or combined hardware software evolution wouldn't be just enough. But this is where I'll give the additional credits to, which you were pointing out already from a slightly different perspective.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's from what you're saying, Manny. One interesting thing is that you mentioned open source, for example, right? But for that to happen, we actually had to have the free software movement, the open source movement that gave the legal framework that allow code to be shared, right? And so I mean, I think that for what Hugo was saying, that those things start happening, and then we, as creative human beings, like you're talking before, right, we start coming up with solutions to the problems that are coming, they're showing up, right? So, and I think that's this is the beauty of all of that. I agree with Ivan, that yes, that, and for me, Ivan, the fact that we have cloud computing, for example, it made things possible, right? So Hugo said, oh, it makes it cheaper, but actually sometimes it doesn't even, yeah, I agree that it makes it cheaper, but sometimes it's not about making it cheaper, it's making it possible, right? So because the ability that someone I don't know, like here where I am, right? Outside of Sao Paulo, in a small city, and I can just go online and say, I need, you know, 5 servers with 20 CPUs each servers, and gazillions gigabytes of memories and gazillions gigabytes of disks, and I can just have that in a matter of minutes, right? Instead of simply not being possible, right? Because in the past, it's not that you would, oh yeah, so if you needed that, you would take too long. No, it's not that, right? It would be impossible, right? I could never, for me to order something like that, I would have to have such a big project, such a huge budget, right?
Mhm.
That I could not experiment, right? I would have to have the thing done first before I had the money to actually do it, right? So today is like, okay, I can experiment that. That's going to cost, yeah, it's going to cost maybe a few $100s, right? And you can say, oh, Bruno, but that's going to be out of the reach for people. Yes, but he made it possible, right? And because it's possible, it allows you guys who are watching us here, you George, you Ivan, and you Oliver, allows all of you, whoever's Mauricio, right? Allows you to say, okay, I'm gonna experiment with that, right? I'm gonna try and see if it works and see if it's valid. And then if it is valid, now I can build on top of that. And then I create a product of it. And then I can solve problems. And when I solve problems, I get people paying for me because I'm solving problems, and then I can make it even bigger, right? So yeah, so I think that this is awesome. That we're doing this kind of things. Okay, so George says, "Hi guys, great opportunity hearing you. Do you see this environment spreading for which type of companies, right? Which fields are you seeing this? Okay, so when you talk about artificial intelligence and big hardware and big architectures, right? All this kind of thing you're talking about here, are those things just for small companies or just for big companies? Just for the big banks and things like this, or you guys are seeing this in other industries? So that's George's question right here. I read the question, but I didn't put him here. Okay.
You
I
want to
think
answer that, Hugo, and I'll follow
yeah,
on from there.
yeah. I think many will can give a more complete answer, but I will give my 5 cents. And I believe that AI is applicable at any level of company. We are seeing a lot of usage in not just big companies. Of course, big companies have a lot of resources that can scale it very good, very well. But we are seeing also a lot of startups that just so small, but they are like we are just saying. All of this evolution empowered human beings, so entrepreneurs to start their own company and start using AI and scale their solutions. So I think there's we are breaking this wall that only big companies are able to create solutions using AI and make things that helps others solve their problems. So that's what I believe. I don't know the type of company. I think companies that the solution that the problem have some it's intrinsic with AI solutions that AI can help to solve. So I can say things like that. I believe many will give much more detailed point of view in this case.
Yeah,
I couldn't
I
add
think
too
more.
many things.
No,
Sorry,
I think
Bruno, you can say
more.
something.
Yeah, I think more. Problems that have lots of data, that the
Yeah,
solution is not obvious, right? That requires the connection of lots of separate data from different places, and trying to, because I think that's where AI excels, right? It's kind of
sure.
take a look at a lot of data and try to find the relationships that are not obvious, right? And so I think those are one of the things that are going to be. So for me, for example, healthcare is definitely going to be something important. E-commerce, right? When we have lots and lots of people trying to do transactions, buying things from different people, that's a very, very complex environment. Economics, right? The whole, the word's economics is so unbelievably complex, right? We're seeing this right now with everything that's going on with the war in Ukraine, for example, and how the economy, right, everywhere is affected, right? So things that happen there, are affecting our daily lives, right? So how come, right? In the past, when there was a war, the war would be like, it's just those people over there would be suffering, right? But now something that happens, it affects everyone. Why it's going on? So all of those connections, right, that we have, we're such an interconnected world, right? Telecommunications, right? Again, Manny was talking about all the connections and being in a connected world, right? So what happens when we have all those communications? Energy, right? Electricity, energy, right? How do we make this whole thing work? There's so many traffic and logistics. You name it, man. Anything that has lots of data, right? Security, right? So all of those things will definitely require, and even more mundane things like social media, right? Just people typing on their keyboard, right? Like it's a huge amount of connections, huge amount of information. And so I mean, all those places are places where AI can totally shine. And of course, every time they have to interact with people, right? The more the computers are better to understand people, the more the computer is going to be able to talk with us and interact with us. So I mean, look, there's, man, there's not a shortage of places where AI can be applied.
Absolutely. I mean, between the two of you, you already answered the whole question, and I'm trying to find a gap to say something. What I can say is, with the way, so see, when I said earlier online collaboration, we were also interconnected and interdependent after this online collaboration, open sourcing, and the other thing that I mentioned about sharing and collaboration happened, and because of which there's also one more thing that has happened with the online collaboration and interconnectedness. There is a level playing field created for everyone. Like, for example, everybody's got the same Twitter account with the same level of features on it, right? Okay, some people might have bought the premium account, but which means now you can talk to anybody, even the CEO of the topmost company in the world, if they have a Twitter account, by just saying at the name of that CEO, and you can message that person. Previously, it was privileged contact, right? If you don't have the contact, if you don't have the email address, you couldn't reach them, and also the emails were read by somebody else. But now you can talk to anybody, which also means any news can be shared across everybody on the same playing field, which also brings back to what Hugo was saying earlier. Whether you're a small company or a large company, it makes no difference at the moment, because a large company may be slower at innovating as opposed to a small company will come zip, zip, zip. They'll take away the markets of many small and big companies if they start at the right time. And there's always now is always the right time, because what you start now, you're ahead of all those people who started 10 years ago, because you have better technologies now, better opportunities, better connectivity, better of everything. And also more finance and investments are available now than used to be available in the past. So if you have all those advantages, even if you're a small company, with the current innovation we have with technology and the interconnectedness we have, and also the interdependence, we can always whiz through all these gaps. So types of companies, all types of companies, right? And all the things Bruno talked about, all the areas, they are among the most common areas with the most common problems. And the pie is so big, you can spend the rest 10 years and you'll never consume a big slice of it.
Right.
So that's the only thing I wanted to add to everything both of you said for that question. It's quite a lot to say about it.
That's awesome. So Mauricio has a good comment here. He's saying that he's a Java developer living in São Paulo. So you're probably close to me, Mauricio. So that's great. And he says, I'm doing specialization in data science and analytics. I'm looking for a subject to work in my work of, my conclusion work, right? My thesis.
Mhm.
So Mauricio, tell us a little bit more, man. Tell us about you. What are the things that you like? What are the things you're interested in, right? Because I tell you what, man, there's so many different topics and ideas that we can give to you. But it would be nice if you told us a little bit about you, what kind of things you love, right? Because if you go after things that you like, you're interested in. So what kind of problems you're trying to solve, right? What kind of problems are important for you? Look, because the one thing I like to say is that the other day I was watching this presentation from this Java developer that his daughter had a health issue, right? And so he starts saying, okay, so he didn't know what it was, right, in the beginning, right? So they knew what it was, but I'm just saying he didn't know what he had never heard of it, right? So he had never knew what to do to solve it, right? So he had to learn about it and understand it. And the more he learned about it, the more interested he was in solving that problem for more people. So he started creating things for his daughter to use and software for his daughter to use. And then that would, he made an open source so other people could use it. And he started like an amazing project because of that. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, Mauricio, is that look around, man. Look at things that are important for you. One thing I like to say, Mauricio, that when you're using an open source project, like let's say you're using the NetBeans IDE, for example, the Eclipse IDE, or any other open source software you're using, right? And you're using the software, and then there's this little button that every time you try to do, let's say, you're going to refactor something, and then you're going to refactor, and then you go and refactor and you click it, and then the button shows up in slightly different place. So then every time you click it, you click in the wrong place. And you're like, oh man, so annoying, right? This thing is terrible. Why did they put the button in the wrong place, right? So you get annoyed by that, right? My suggestion, Mauricio, go and fix it, right? Why? Because if it annoys you, right, it probably annoys someone else, right? Lots of people are annoyed by that, but someone has to be annoyed enough to go there and say, I'm going to fix this thing, right? And so it could be you, right? So that's what I'm saying, Mauricio. Look around, man, and find the things that annoy you, right? Because the reality is that particular button, there's thousands of developers that go through that button every day, and they don't mind. They don't mind, right? They know the button is going to show on the wrong place, so they're ready for it. They just click on the side. They don't mind, right? They just keep going. They don't get bothered by it, because you get bothered. Go do and fix it, right? So that's the same thing, Mauricio. So find something in your life, find something near you, in your family, in your health, in your community, in your city, right? Something that really annoys you, right? And so you could be the person to go there and fix it. So that's my. And then if you talk a little bit more about who you are and what you like, we can give you some more ideas. Anyone has any specific ideas for him?
So I was going to suggest a couple of GitHub repositories
Right.
that you could look at. I'm not suggesting go and jump into it, but what Bruno's saying is explore your likes and your dislikes, but also look at many things. Play
Right.
around with things, examine things, and give an idea, thought of it. Okay, do I like this? Can I do something to it? Can I bring value to it? And maybe spend some time doing something with it, and stop if you feel it doesn't go somewhere. Right? Unless you try, examine, and check things out and get a taste of things, you will not be able to bring out that thing in you that is really waiting to be pulled out, which is really what you want to do. So one of the other things that can help is mind mapping. Mind map your thoughts. Mind map, this is what I want to do, this is what I know, these are my strengths, this is what I don't know, this is my weaknesses, this is what I've seen here, this is what I like in this GitHub repository, and things like that. And once you do that, then you have your whole not the whole, but a good amount of what's in your head already on paper. And then when you keep doing that, when you're actually dumping, or that what you're saying is downloading all of that on paper, and the moment you do that, you're making space for new things to come into your mind. This is how our mind works, right? And so take advantage of that information about your mind, and then just keep working with it. And as you keep doing mind mapping, you'll notice that you'll have more, your mind map will start growing, and you'll have more buffer space for more ideas. Eventually you will narrow down to the right ideas you want to work on, and then you start working on it. This is what I would recommend. But I have 2 repositories I could start. I could request you to have a look at, and then play around with it. Examine it, look at the subtopics, start mind mapping. Eventually, you will narrow down to what you really want to do, and that will be the best. As Bruno said, you need to find out what you're passionate about, what you like, what you really want to do, what's hidden inside you it's dying to come out, and triangulate and capture that, and then put it on paper, and then start working on it.
Right. So I just put Manny's repositories on the chat, so you guys can take a look there. Right. Awesome. Okay. So guys, Hugo, you want to say anything about for Mauricio?
Yeah.
Any ideas?
Oh yeah, I think since we started talking about skills for developers or for development, I think many already said, but just to reinforce it, I think the playing around is something that is very useful for you in any development career, even if you are doing data science analytics or software development. I know that in AI and data science, there's many content to read, to learn, to understand. But the best way to do so is to getting things hands-on of all of those concepts. Not all, but what you feel that is important, that you get some curiosity. So many give the repositories here one of those that I already playing, have been playing this week is the Chatbot Conversation. I think that is a great way to get in contact with how code works, how the code works, how I can make some changes and work in some different ways. So if you didn't know even know how does it works, it's a great place to getting started and make some play around. Yeah, just getting in. Don't just read things and put it in practice.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, guys, so we're getting to the end of our call here. I'm sorry that I did type many repositories, investing many repositories, right? So, but anyway, it works both ways, right? So, uh,
It's pun intended or pun not intended, but it has happened.
right, exactly. So, guys, we're getting to the moment we're gonna share our books, right? So we have the out of the box developer book shelves, right? We're gonna suggest our books for the day. Who wants to start with the books for the day? So Manny is giving me lots of links here. We're gonna put lots of links, guys, in the description below. Actually, I need to improve that process. By the way, Yugo's gonna help me out putting the links on the descriptions. But so who has a book to share?
Yeah,
I could start. I could share a book which I recommend to many
All right.
developers, especially Java developers. It is one of my favorite books among many other books. Is Working Effectively with Legacy Code by Michael Feathers,
Mhm.
and this teaches you a lot because a lot of things and principles explained in this book, they are not taken. They won't be outdated in a long time to come because these are things you will always notice in a lot of code or many pieces of code that you'll come across. Not necessarily all the time, but there's a good chance of you coming across this. And it's good to know these skills, these techniques, so that there's code of all kinds and shapes available out there. Not every code is clean code that you come across. And so if the chances of you coming across less clean code, then these skills will definitely help you bridge that gap.
great book. Well,
Wait,
from my side, sorry.
wait. Okay, so that's a great book. So I just put the name there. So Max is saying hello, everyone. Good evening. So thanks, Max. Um, I'm saying Maurice is saying thanks for the tips. Good. Okay, guys. All right. So Hugo, your turn. What's the book you're gonna share?
Oh, yeah. Since many say that we won't replace all the humans with AI, and we still need to work with humans, and there are some practice that can help you. I would suggest this. The Phoenix project is a more a drama from the IT environment, applying DevOps practices. So if you don't want to go so deep with more technical, this is a good one that don't go out of the IT field, but also a joyful book to read. So that's my suggestion for today.
All right.
Yeah, that's a,
I
that's
went.
a highly recommended book by many developers in this space. So I
I already
definitely
have it.
recommend that. Oh, okay.
I
Bruno has the English version.
I saw you had the Portuguese version. So
Oh
when
yeah, sorry, I have the
you got
Portuguese
you got
version.
me the English version. The English version is pretty similar, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. Okay, so I want to tell you guys that a lot of my books that I'm going to recommend are on Kindle those days, right? So it's very very hard to have books on the bookshelf, but it's nice that we have some in the bookshelf. Now, uh, the book that I want to share is this one here, right? So we're talking about the out of the box developer. So the idea is to expand our minds, right? So I'm going to talk a book that although it talks about computers, but it's not a technical book. It's this one here, Remix by Lawrence Lessig, right? And the subtitle says all making art and commerce thrive in the hybrid economy, right? So this book is awesome, right? It talks about about the remix economy and how technology has been allowed people to remix ideas from other people. That's what open source is all based on, right? So you have open source, and then you use open source code to create more code. So because Mani was talking about, we are in interconnected society today, and open source is very important. That's exactly what Remix talks about, right? And for people that want to have ideas, right, for projects and like Mauricio, for example, right? So they want to have ideas. It's great because this here is going to give you so many good things. And I may be wrong, but I think that this book is available online for free. I'm not sure, but take a look. Uh, um, and then this awesome book for you guys to read, right? Okay. And actually, Lawrence Lessig, he has lots of great books, right? So this it's a guy for you to take a look at. Lots of his books are great. All right. So Mauricio says, okay, so very quick here, guys, because we're a little bit out of time here now. But Mauricio says, I was thinking about something in the era of augmented and virtual reality, right? To involve the metaverse, which is a subject that I find interesting, but there are still few academic works in the area. Okay, that's good. So if you find it interesting, that's awesome. I work with a fleet system in the support team. I wasn't thinking about be something that involves the service, but I'm already thinking about it. That's good. Something about the diffusion of artificial intelligence within the company, but I'm afraid to be too wordy about it. Okay, so Mauricio, the problem sometimes is, if you're going to do something in the metaverse, for example, then now you're making whatever you're doing more complex, right? Because now you have to involve the metaverse, right? And so, so Manny did put the link here. I'm going to put the link for Remix. Thanks a lot, Manny. Great. I forgot you got the link, so that's good. All right. So just be careful when you're trying to do some research or some experimentation or something like that. Be careful not to create something that's so complex that then you don't have time to actually do it, right? So try to get something that's more around the things that you need to show, that you need to build, instead of adding so many other layers that it's going to be very hard for you to do it, right? So I would. I'm not saying don't do the metaverse thing, but I'm just telling you that when you say metaverse, our augmented reality, then now just that part by itself, it might be a whole teaser, a whole project, right? Not even if you don't even add the artificial intelligence part to it. So just be careful with that.
Yeah, it's always best to keep things simple as much as possible. To start with, when you start something, keep it simple. And in fact, keep it simple all the way through as much as possible.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, I think there was a great conversation today. So thanks a lot, Manny. Thanks a lot, Hugo, for being here.
Thanks, Bruno.
Manny, let me go backwards here. So, Hugo, do you wanna finish? Say some last things here.
Oh well, so thank you again, everyone, for being here. I hope you enjoyed the session today, and yeah, I think a very important thing is step ladders. Any new content that you are trying to learn, understand, do the step ladders, do the simple steps, small steps. Then you get where you want.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, so I'm just putting some thanks here on the screen. How about you, Manny?
Yeah, so I think Hugo put it all in great simple words. Keep it simple. Do it in evolutionary incremental steps, which is what Hugo was pointing out as well. And also as Bruno has been introducing things like also look into non-technical things, right? So, for example, both Hugo and Bruno pointed out a non-technical book, which is also something you should look into. And when you do things like that, you'll start appreciating and seeing the beauty of simplicity. Because a simplicity, easy is complex, but simple is hard, right? This is what we must understand, because what you try to do very easily, which like create a metaverse, for example, or something like that can be easy, but then to keep it simple is going to be the hard, and that's where all the skills will come in. So yeah, I would like to just close up saying keep it simple, keep everything simple as much as possible, and keep it simple and evolve and incrementally develop in simple steps at a time.
Okay, that is awesome. All right, so look, this conversation are very, very good. One thing I want to tell you guys is that next week I'm going to be traveling to the US, right? It's going to be my first international trip since I don't even know when, right? So, and I'm going to come to DevNexus, right? So Max is saying baby step always. So that's you, right, Max? So I'm
Yep.
going to be in the US next week. And I'm going to run a workshop, right? In the Houston Java user group. So I'm actually coming for, first I'm coming to Houston, then I'm going to come to Atlanta for DevNexus, right? So I'm going to run a workshop that's going to be the post senior workshop, right? So what you do after senior level, right? So that could be an interesting topic for you to discuss in this group here in a couple of weeks. And and one thing I'm gonna so 2 weeks from now I'm gonna be in Atlanta. So maybe we could do one of the sessions here with some speakers from DevNexus, right? So I'm gonna try to arrange that.
Yeah, I was
and
thinking.
and that would be an interesting thing.
Cool.
Are you gonna be there, Manny? Any chance?
Yeah, not in Atlanta, but definitely from here.
All right, good. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay, guys.
and that actually confirms we are doing this bi-monthly, right?
Right. Yes, we're trying to do this by month. I mean, we're
Bi-month,
trying to do
yeah,
every other week, right? That was the idea, right? 1 week
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
1 week no. So let's try to
yeah.
do that. So that means next week I travel, but I'm gonna be in DevNexus 2 weeks from now. So that's gonna be perfect that we're gonna be there. So maybe I can get a couple of speakers and join and have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. That would definitely be a blast for us.
All right. Okay. So thanks a lot, Manny. Thanks a lot, Hugo. Great to have you guys here. And for you that's watching us, thank you so much. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your comments. Max is saying awesome. So thanks a lot, Max. Thanks everyone. It's so great to be here with you. The fact that you are here with us makes this whole thing worthwhile. So thanks for your time. Thanks for being here. Okay. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thanks.
See
And
ya.
Manny, sorry for getting you so late. It's like midnight for Money right now, and
It's all
so
right.
yeah. So
I'm a night owl. I'm fine with it.
right,
Developers
good.
stay up late at night.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do a better time next time. All right.
No, this time is perfect for me. I mean, on a Friday evening, this time is perfect. People would go out for doing parties, but with lockdowns and things like that, this is our party.
Right. Okay. That's good.
Great.
So Matt's saying have a good night. All right. Have a good night for everyone. Thanks
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good rest of the day, rest of you from the rest part of the world. See ya. Bbye bye.
See
See
you.
you.
Bye. All right.